Now that you have an overall sense of what the Peaceful Warrior series looks like and a general understanding of its benefits, I'm going to be your personal fitness coach and take you step by step through the entire series so you can learn and perform the movements with ease and get the greatest possible benefits. Now, bear in mind that any exercise is like a suit of clothing. You may need to tailor it for your particular body type or level of conditioning. Do strive for good form, because exercise is only as beneficial as the posture in which you do it. At the same time, be comfortable with your present range of abilities and your present range of motion. If you have any physical limitations, such as sore knee, lower back, or shoulders, or weak wrists, work around them. Do what works best for you. Speaking of back problems, many people don't exercise and become more and more sedentary because their lower back is sore. That's quite a common ailment. There may be many reasons for that, but the most common reasons for sore lower backs are four. First, weak abdominal muscles. Second, tight hamstrings in the back of the legs. Third, a weak lower back. And fourth, a tight lower back. So, any exercise or routine that will stretch your hamstrings out, strengthen your abdominals, strengthen your lower back, and make it more flexible is going to be therapeutic for you, and your back pain will become less or even go away. Well, good news. This series, based on hundreds of people who've contacted me over the last 8 years, have told me that their back pain became much, much less or went away as a result of doing this series in a relatively short time. So bear that in mind. Don't let sore lower back stop you from doing the series. Just do it within your possible range of motion. And of course, get checked by a health professional if you have any serious concerns about your back. So now we're going to get started with the movements of the series. The first key I need to tell you for any movements you do is that the patterns of breathing are much more important than the movements themselves, because breathing is connected to the emotions, and the more balanced your breathing is, the more balanced your emotional state. So, be aware, when you breathe, you're going to inhale on all exercises through the nose and exhale through the nose or mouth, either way you like. But deep, full breathing in coordination with the movements is key, and I'll indicate that as we go through each element. The next general thing you need to know are about your stance. There are 3 foot widths you'll be standing during this routine. Some of the exercises have a narrow foot width, some are shoulder width apart, and some wider than shoulder width. And again, I'll indicate the appropriate stance as we go through. And now we begin. The first exercise is stretch back, swing down. To do that, you want your feet slightly narrower than shoulder width. Okay, you can do this with me if you like. Place your palms together in front of you, and as you inhale, your palms float up over your head. Then they drop behind your neck, and you press your palms together. See, sideways, you press your palms together momentarily while holding the breath, just for a moment. Then, as your arms swing back down, you bend your knees, let your head drop, and at the bottom of the swing, straighten your legs momentarily if you can. Then bend your knees again as you come back up, continuing with an inhale. So let's do that one more time from the front. You inhale up, bending back, opening your back. By the way, as you do that, make sure you keep your rear end fairly tight. That helps support the lower back and doesn't strain it. So rear end tight, inhaling up to here, press your palms together, give a stretch, then again bend your knees as you let go. Then bend your knees again as you come back up, inhaling back to continue the motion. That's stretch back, swing down. The next exercise is called squat down, side stretch. It looks like this. It's done with feet shoulder width apart. You begin by closing your hands in a light fist and sink down as if you're ski jumping. You know what that's like. Just rest your forearms on your knees or your thighs, and as you inhale up, you go to your left. I'm going to my right to mirror you. One hand comes out, palm up to the side, the other hand reaches by your head, and your hips go in the opposite direction. So you don't want to bend over this way. You want to stay centered and balanced. And you reach as you inhale to your range of motion with your elbow behind your ear. You don't want to turn this way, but you turn sideways. Then as you exhale, you come back down to this position, the squat position. Then as you inhale back up, you place your hand palm up to the side, and then guided by that, stretch past your ear, inhaling, hips going the opposite direction, and then exhale back down. Notice the pace of these exercises is up to you, but again, go for good form. Now the next exercise after squat down side stretch is the neck release. We'll work down the body one step at a time. The feet are shoulder width for this and the next few exercises. On the neck release, you move while you inhale and then relax as you exhale. It looks like this. Drop the chin down, relax the head. Don't force the head, just let it drop of its own accord as you inhale. As you exhale, you relax in that position. Then you go up to your left, just bending over sideways, inhaling to the position, and then exhale and relax. I'm consciously holding my opposite shoulder down. Can you feel that? Otherwise it tends to be pulled up as you bend over. You don't want to bend at the waist or the side. It's just the head. So you feel the neck and let it release. And keep the shoulder down. So inhaling to the motion and exhale, relax. When you go back with the head, you don't want to pinch anything. Just lift your chin gently up. Keep your teeth closed but not clenched. And inhale. And relax as you exhale. Then your head goes to the other side. Inhaling. And exhaling as you relax in the position, holding the other shoulder down. Then finally return, inhaling. And relax. This tells you where tension is carried in the neck so you can let it go. Now we work down from the neck to the shoulders. These are called the shoulder rolls. You take your hands behind you. As you can see, I'm taking one wrist in the opposite hand. Then my shoulders make a circle. I'll stand sideways so you can see better. The shoulders go forward, up, back, and down. As your hands just slide passively up and down your back. Forward, up, back, and down. Breathing is natural. As you inhale, they go up. As you exhale, they go down. Shoulder rolls. Now we work further down to the waist area. And this next exercise is done with feet wider than shoulder width for stability. It's almost like a martial arts exercise. You may want to bend your knees a little bit, tuck your hips under to feel a very stable base with both feet pointing forward. From that stable base, your arms go straight out to the side. And it's as if a broom handle is tied across your chest. So your arms don't break the broom handle, they stay opposite one another. And the key to this exercise is it's a neck exercise as well, because as you pull one hand behind you, you'll look for that hand with your head. So you turn your neck as well, and then as you come back, you turn the neck the other way. And look for the hand behind you. So you think of pulling your right arm back, then your left arm back, or in your case, pulling your left arm back and your right arm back on that side. The breathing is a bit tricky here. You want to inhale as you pull, not exhale. And you have to exhale rapidly, otherwise you won't have time to inhale again. So it looks like this. It's inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Now I'll do it faster so you can see what it's like with momentum. So I'm exercising my neck as I get a good stretch in the waist. In order to get a good stretch, you have to keep your hips square, as if somebody's holding on to your hips. You don't want to torque your hips around like this. If you torque your hips, it can strain the knees. So you keep the hips square and very stable, and then let the momentum do the work. Inhale, exhale, and so on. Spine swing. Okay, next we work down to the pelvic area. Many people have a frozen pelvis and don't have much range of motion. Tension in this area can cause the pelvis to rotate forward. It's like a bowl of fruit. If your pelvis rotates, the fruit can fall forward and your belly hangs out. If you lengthen this area down in the lower back, relax your knees, you're more in alignment. It's a very important area. And because many of us are tight there, it's useful to do what I call Elvis pelvis, and that's with feet shoulder width apart. Notice I look down now and then because it's always important to look visually and check your feet to see if they're in the right position. Now with your knees bent, you're going to move your hips in circles. At first, get used to this. Just think of tucking your hips under, tipping the fruit backward. Then rotate your hips forward and feel what that's like. Then to one side, as if you're bouncing a ball off your hip. And then the other side. If you can do that, then you make a circle. You tuck under, and then you rotate in a circle. This is different from belly rotations. In fact, it's helpful at first to put your hands on your belly and see if you can not move your hands and just move the pelvis underneath the hands. Like so. The breathing in this is very natural. Just inhale and exhale, whatever feels natural to you as they move back and forth. And you can go around a couple times, one way, then the other, or go one way, stop, and then the other way, whatever feels best to you. But keep your breathing flowing during the movement. That's Elvis pelvis. Over time it will get much smoother and easier. It also helps the stomach, the digestion and so on as well, by moving the intestines around. That's Elvis pelvis. Now that we've worked down the body, we go to a different kind of exercise that works with the right and left side of the brain called heaven earth. This is also a balance exercise. The feet are narrow stance. You begin with deliberate tension. Most of these exercises are done as relaxed as you can do them, but this is a deliberate tensing movement. So you bend your knees slightly, tuck your hips under, and inhale. Almost like doing bicep curls with weights. You tense every muscle in your body for a moment as you inhale. Then your left arm goes over your head, your right arm comes down so that it's stable over your left leg, and your right knee comes up, toe pointed to the ground. Your knee comes up waist height if you can. One arm up, one arm down, balancing like so. Then you inhale again, and this time the right arm goes up and your left arm goes down, as if you're carrying a tray of food over your head and pushing down, connecting heaven and earth. And then your left knee goes up, toe pointed down. Feel the posture and the balance. And then inhaling again. Tight. Exhaling, release and extend. Inhaling, tight. Exhaling, feel the extension. And I'll show you sideways again. The hips are tucked under here as you tense. Then one arm goes up, the other down, and the opposite knee comes up. Waist height, and feel the balance. And then, and for advanced people, you can try going up on the ball of your foot and balancing that way. But I wouldn't recommend it for beginners. Now it's time to do a little more active motion, and I call it the cross-country ski hop. I'll show you sideways. It looks like this, as you've seen. Learning it is something else. Many of us who think our way through movements and carry a lot of tension may lose the coordinated movement of the arms and legs. And there's a tendency either to do la cucaracha, back on our heels like this, instead of a lunge movement like so, or there's a tendency to have the same arm and leg go forward. If you do this, don't worry about it. It will pass soon enough. Just be easy with yourself. So one way to learn it is to do a lunge with one leg forward, it doesn't matter which one, and put the opposite arm forward and then the other one back. So if my right leg is forward, my left arm is forward. Opposite arm and leg. Then hop and switch arms and legs and see if you have the opposite arm and leg forward. And then you do it again. And then again. And gradually you get the idea of the cross-country ski hop. It should be done smoothly, not bouncing way up and down, but very smooth. Now the breathing for this is quite important. I suggest you inhale for 2 hops and exhale for 2 hops. So it looks like this. Inhale, inhale, exhale, exhale. And so on. Keep the arms nice and low, a nice smooth rhythmic action. That's cross-country ski hop. After that, it's time to stretch out a bit. So we go to the floor and we do buns down, buns up. It looks like this. You start in a push-up position. If your present level of conditioning doesn't allow that, you can start on your hands and knees and just do it this way, sinking forward, looking up, inhaling, and then just stretching back like a cat as you exhale. However, if you can do it from a push-up position, you start with straight back. As you inhale, you look up. As you exhale, you lift your buns up and put your heels as close as you can to the floor so that you feel a stretching in the back of your legs and your head goes between your arms. And again, with the arms straight, inhaling, hips down, exhaling, and then buns up. Back and forth. Now you may feel that in your lower back, but even so, it's one of the best exercises you can do for the lower back to help it become more flexible. So go to your own range of motion, but I recommend this highly. Then we go into the next element in the series, which I call the rock and roll routine. You can walk up here, squat down, or even sit down, and you're going to roll back and forth. It looks like this again. Now many of you, or some of you, have done yoga, and you're used to doing things like the plow with your arms over your head or behind you and your feet straight. On this one, it's different. The rock and roll routine, it's very important on this series to protect your neck. Some people with a little heavier hips may push their hips up and then they go too far and can go crunch. So it's important that you keep your arms over your head. This is key to this element for the safety of it. Keep your arms behind you at all times here so that you can stop yourself. If you're going too far, you can stop and then you come forward. When you come forward, your knees come out and the soles of your feet are together and your head relaxes. It's not ballistic or jerky stretching, it's just relax into the motion. Knees out, soles of the feet together. You may be so stiff that you can only go this far. That's fine for now. Or you may only be able to roll this far. And that's okay if that's what you can do. But eventually you want your arms over your head, roll back with the knees over your forehead, knees bent. Then as you come forward, you round, knees out, head down, and back, and forward. Notice I exhale in the front and the back of the movement. You inhale in between. So it's exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. That's rock and roll part 1. Part 2 is a more advanced movement, and part 1, I should say, is the main thing to learn. That's all you ever need to learn in this series. But if you want to challenge yourself, part 2 is waiting. On part 2, you roll back the same way, except you extend as high as you can with your legs. That gives you speed to roll up to a squat. Stay as round as you can. Watch your navel. You don't want to go forward like that. That can strain your knees. Just to flat-footed position and then roll right back again. Now, there's a part 3, 4, and 5 to this series, which I'll demonstrate now, just for those who are interested. But again, part 1 is the main one to learn. Part 3 looks like this. You actually jump in the air. Part 4, you jump with a half turn. And part 5, a full turn. That's only if you want to challenge yourself, and that's the rock and roll routine. Again, the main part is 1. Now we go into the next part, which is stomach exercises, and there are 2 best stomach exercises in this efficient routine are V-ups and the cradle rock. V-ups look like this. Now that's one of the exercises that people many times tell me, no way I'm going to do that. I've never done that. It looks too hard. Well, any exercise, if you know how, can be learned. If you can't go up, you first go down. For example, if you had trouble learning a chin-up on the bars, first you start at the top, like standing on a chair, and lower yourself down slowly. And when you can lower slowly, you'll get the strength to pull up again. In the same way, let's start the easy way. See if you can just balance like so with your knees bent for a moment. Then put your feet out and then uncurl. Now, the main point to remember for your safety for this exercise, whenever you do any kind of leg raises, if your abdominals are weak, you're going to tend to strain your lower back. The way you avoid hurting your lower back is by keeping it flat on the ground, which means keeping your head up off the ground. So whether you do this exercise with knees bent or straight, always bring the head up first, then you reach, and then put the feet down, and then uncurl finally with the head going down. So the rule is the head comes up first and down last. Inhaling up, exhaling down. When you can do it with knees bent, then you can try from the top, sitting, even if you can only do this far, from a V and exhaling down. Remember, heels first, then uncurl. And try inhaling up, reach, exhale down, and down. Head first, always. Inhale up. You'll get the balance after a little while. And then heels down and uncurl. That's V-ups. After you finish the V-ups, bring your knees up. And the beginner's way to do the cradle rock, the easiest way, is to take your knees, reach behind your legs, and barely rock so you can hardly see yourself or feel yourself moving. Your head is up high. This strengthens the neck muscles as well. And you rock back and forth. Now, if that feels too easy for you, let go of your knees, you'll feel a big difference. And then, in the better shape you are, the more you can straighten your legs out. Don't push this step though. Keep the head up high, and I'd suggest keeping your knees slightly bent, unless you're a dancer or a gymnast. And at the very end, when you can't really do it anymore, tap your stomach. Just tap it, feel the strength there. And then, relax down. That's V-ups and the cradle rock and the progression for learning them. Then we turn over to do the swan dive. Now, I should say, many old people end up being hunched over. You've seen people who are elderly often hunch over because we use the muscles in the front of our body more than the back of our body. We carry groceries this way, not backwards. So it's very important doing an exercise in your daily routine that strengthens all the muscles of your back, so you tend to sit and stand tall. Otherwise, this starts happening. And if this starts happening, well, try taking a deep breath, hunched over. See, it's sort of the beginning of the end. It's harder to breathe deep, and pretty soon less oxygen to the body. So posture is more important than many people imagine for your overall health. So, we do the swan dive, which strengthens every muscle in the entire back. Your arms are down in front of you. As you inhale and take 3 breaths, your arms and legs come off the floor. It's important to keep the legs straight. Don't bend your knees or it could cramp the back of your leg. Keep the legs straight. Good form, like a swan dive. Inhale up. 3 breaths, and then relax completely back down. It doesn't matter how high you can arch. Even a little bit off the floor is fine. Some people want to hold their arms straight. Some may do the side. Some people may want to pull the arms back. You get slightly different muscles, that's fine. But again, swan dive is inhaling up. 1, 2, 3 breaths on the exhale. Relax back down. And then, after we do the swan dive, only 2 more exercises to go. As you saw on the preview, we then do free movement. Now, if you were to do no other exercise in this entire series, doing free movement gives you immense benefits. Because many of us, as we get older, get locked into certain movement patterns. All we do is movements like this, or this, or this, walking. And pretty soon, our nervous system gets set in rigid patterns. And when we get older, we're in danger of falling into an illness called psychosclerosis, which is hardening of the attitudes. Because the brain, the attitudes, and the nervous system are all connected. So free movement is very important to just let your body move any way it feels like without thinking. It's not designed to look good, it's designed to feel good, and it's tailored completely to whatever you feel like that day. There are only several principles for free movement. One is to do the movements on all levels. Sometimes you might just do them high, feeling that expansive, stretching energy up on your toes and move around up here. Other times you want to explore mid-range, back and forth, turning your body. Strange movements, whatever, things you haven't done before, to keep that nervous system stimulated. You might want to balance on one leg and wave around, or the other, and feel what that's like. You might want to go low and stretch, but keep moving. It's not really yoga or a dance routine, it's just movement. And continue to breathe. That's the second principle. Keep moving and breathe. Don't hold the breath. We tend to do that a lot when we move. And just move around. You can move on the floor. Again, whatever your range of motion and abilities allow you to do, let that be your free movement routine. After you've moved high, medium, and low, and it feels like you're stretched out and feels good and stimulating to your whole body, then you leave free movement and end with time out. Time out is simply relaxing deeply and letting go. I recommend either crossing your legs or your arms, or both. You can experiment to see what feels best for you. But relax completely. And one purpose of this physiologically is to let your heart and breathing come back to balance. So I just wait until I feel relaxed and alert. We'll go into more of the benefits in the review coming up.